And so a 28-to-1 shot comes off. Second last year, first this.
The leader of the Labour Party, Major Attlee.
The government says that we must rearm, but there's no safety in great armaments. Mr. Baldwin has said the bomber will always get through. His colleague, Lord Londonderry, boasts of having prevented air disarmament. It's suggested by some people that those who oppose the government are not patriots. The true patriots are those who would build up the strength of this nation. And the strength of this nation is in the men, and the women, and the children. The government can find plenty of money for warships and airplanes. Why could they not find money to secure to everyone homes fit to live in, clothing, food, and the means of a happy life? While you and I sit here in comfort, there are hundreds of thousands of our fellow citizens who've been suffering intense misery for the last 4 years and are still suffering. We must not rest until every home in the land is a home of comfort, plenty, and security. The government has had 4 years of complete power. Why has it not acted? It is a servant of the Conservative Party. Its annual conference made 3 demands: a stronger House of Lords, more compensation for slum landlords, and greater armaments. This was his master's voice. Labour's conference demanded peace, disarmament, employment, leisure, education, houses, and pensions for all. Give Labour power to act.
Sir Herbert Samuel, leader of the Liberal Party.
The Liberal Party does not support the Conservative government, for such in reality is what the present government is, because we think its trade policy is wrong. We regard it as one of the chief causes of the continued unemployment of 2 million of workers. We regard it as one of the chief causes also of the dangerous unrest prevailing in the world. We condemn it also for its repeated refusal to carry out any large policy of national development, using the idle labour and idle capital for undertakings useful to the country. We agree that in present conditions our defences need strengthening, but we are convinced that we shall not through that obtain security against war. Only through the League of Nations and through a general disarmament shall we achieve such security. The Liberal Party has presented to the country its own policy and programme, which is neither conservative nor socialist, and we urge that the best interests of Britain and of the Empire would be served by a largely increased Liberal representation in the next Parliament.
Mr. Stanley Baldwin, Prime Minister and Head of the National Government.
There are a million good reasons why you should support the national government. They are to be found in the homes where, owing to the trade revival, 1 million breadwinners are now drawing a regular wage instead of searching for work. The government's first aim is to keep that trade revival in being. But I warn you that the opposite will happen if confidence is shattered by political upheavals. Our second aim is social improvement. Our housing and slum clearance campaigns are already far beyond anything that has ever been attempted before. We must push ahead with them. In addition, we want to build up a fitter nation by expanding our health and educational services. Above all, we desire to go on working to maintain world peace and strengthen the League of Nations. But it is clear from recent events that both our own influence in the world and that of the League itself will be weakened unless we make good the gaps in our own defenses. I will never stand for a policy of great armaments, and I give you my word, and I think you can trust me by now, that our defense program will be no more than is sufficient to make our country safe and enable us to fulfill our obligations. That much we must have. We are passing through difficult times. The country needs well-tried and experienced men at the helm. It is no time for weak governments. The nation cannot afford to embark on reckless experiments which would take us back to the days of financial crisis. Today, our country is leading the world on the path of progress and recovery. Let us once again unite to keep her in that proud position.